In this video, we're going to show how to add materials to a new style. Let's start by going to the Garment section on the Resource tabs. Here we can see the 4 types of materials that can be part of a garment: fabrics, seams, artwork, trims. We can assign material to a pattern piece or edge. We can assign material by dragging it. Alternatively, we can use the Assign tool. Note that we can assign material on the 2D or 3D window. When we click on a material on the Resource tabs, the context view on the right displays the material's properties and settings. Note that the properties and settings vary depending on the material type selected. To add a new material, we go to the Libraries. From the drop-down menu, we can add one of the available libraries. We're going to focus on the Browseware library. We click on a material to download it. To have it accessible, we're going to go back to the Garment tab. From here, we can assign it to a pattern piece. Let's look in more detail at materials, starting with a fabric. Each fabric has a front and back image. Images can be in JPG, PNG, or AI format. In addition, fabrics have different texture maps, such as diffuse, specular, normal, and others. We'll cover this topic in a separate video. For now, it's enough to know that the diffuse map is an image of the texture. Next to it is the color thumbnail, which shows the fabric color. Here we can also change the color. By clicking on the color thumbnail, a color picker is displayed and we can select the color we'd like to use. We can save the color to the palette so it's available for repeated use. If we want to change back to the original color, we can click the Reset Diffuse button. To clone this fabric, we select the fabric, click the hamburger icon, and click Clone Fabric. A clone or copy of the fabric is added to the available fabrics. Now that we have our color in place, let's review seams. First, we're going to add a new seam. In the drop-down menu, we have multiple seam options which we can choose from. These seams are created as vector files. Alternatively, we can also create our own seam design and import it. Let's assign the seam to our garment. For seams, it is recommended to use the Assign tool as it is more accurate on small areas like an edge. By clicking on a seam on the Resource tabs, we can see the seam's properties in the context view. Just like with a fabric, we can easily change the color. In the context view, we go to the Workmanship section, which shows us seams and thread properties, all of which we can edit. We'll start with seam properties: offset, line count, distance. Offset allows us to specify the distance from the edge of the pattern piece. For example, if we want the seam to be 1.5 centimeters from the edge, we type in 1.5 for offset. Line count is the number of times the seam is repeated along the edge. For example, if we want 2 lines showing the seam, we type in 2 for line count. This way, we can turn a single needle seam into a double needle seam. Distance is the space between seams. For example, we want a little more space between the seams, so we type in 0.5 for distance. Now we'll look at thread properties: length, width, space, and 3D thickness. Length and width are the length and width of the seam material image. Note we can set these properties individually, or we can click the link icon so that changes to either length or width are automatically and proportionately implemented. For example, if length and width are linked, and we increase the length, the width is automatically increased, and so on. Space is the distance between each stitch image. "3D thickness is a legacy property for older garment files. Now we know how to edit a seam. Let's look at artwork. To add an artwork, we click the hamburger menu in the Artwork section, then click Add Artwork. We'll assign the artwork to our garment. We can easily change the color. When we click the artwork, either in the 2D or 3D window, we can scale and rotate it using the Gizmo tool. In the 2D window, there are rulers that indicate the position of the artwork. As we drag the artwork to a new location, the rulers show the exact distance from the selected edge. Now we know all about materials and how to add them to a new style. In this video, we learned in depth about materials. For more information, check out the Browseware Help Center.